Hi, I'm Lewis Miller. I started out working at a private golf club in Seattle, pulling weeds and planting geraniums, and now I own my own business in Manhattan, and I'm creator of the Flower Flash. I grew up in gardens and I grew up with flowers, and the idea of bringing all this stuff inside really appealed to me. From the youngest, 7 or 8 years old, I was always addicted to House and Garden magazine and House Beautiful, and the way that rooms were styled and the way that flowers brought a room to life was so appealing. And growing up in Central California, all I had to do was go outside, cut armloads of things, and I could experiment and have that same effect. I found it extremely gratifying how quick you could make a change, and then how, because of the nature of flowers, you could just turn around and do it over and have completely different results. My first job in college was working at a private golf club in Seattle, and it was a summer job, and literally it was pulling weeds. Somehow I became friends with one of the members there, and she was in her 70s, and she was like the only female member on this private club of 400 guys. And we became buddies, and I really parlayed that job as a summer laborer to being like, sure, I can do flowers. I'd love to do it. And like, here's what we can do, here's what we can do. I started doing all their Christmas decorations. I did their weekly flowers. Then I started doing their private parties, and I had this sweet little system where I was like working for the club, but then doing all their stuff on the side. Got to test out every crazy idea on them. Had some really triumphant moments and some big disasters, but next week did it all over again. So it was a really great learning experience for me. And I'm naturally a go-getter, so I was just fearless and I went after it, and it just kind of parlayed into me doing my own thing. So when I actually made the leap from Seattle to New York, it was in 2000. I was 25. When I moved here, I had 2 suitcases, and so I didn't have financial obligations. I didn't have I wasn't moving to New York to be discovered or to party or live a life or kind of like chase this dream. I was here to work. So my satisfaction and my energy was all put towards working. To be perfectly honest, the idea of failing never really crossed my mind. And I don't say that in like a cocky or cavalier way, but failure is not one of my fears, because I know that with enough thought and enough preparation and the right team, you can really do anything you put your mind to. So I think if I fear anything, it's probably boredom more than failure. It's scary, but if you overthink it, you'll never do anything. I mean, honestly, if I had known how this road was gonna be, I would have stayed paralyzed on my sofa in Seattle and have never moved. But I would have never changed it. Of course, it's been, scary and real, and amazing things have happened and some pretty crappy things have happened, but I mean, isn't that gonna happen no matter what you do? So you might as well be pursuing something you love. So after being in this business for 17, 18 years, I wanted to do something that had a little bit more edge to it, that was giving back in a way that wasn't just the typical, like, just writing a check, but something that somebody was a little bit more tangible. I would always be reminded on a Friday afternoon, if we took an armload of flowers and took them home on the subway, how people would stop and really look at them. And being able to work with this kind of beauty all day long, you forget how special it is. That's where the idea of the Flower Flash came in, and that was really to create these sort of unorthodox pop-up floral installations that kind of had no purpose other than to just be there, be beautiful, and just sort of disappear. And we started those about 2.5 years ago, and it's been an incredible adventure. And one of my clients called me up and she's like, this was the most brilliant PR thing you could have ever done, which is true, but it's funny because that was the last thing on my mind. And I had no idea it would actually turn out that way. I just knew that it was a combination of being satisfied with my job and the situation and our projects, but honestly, being a little bored. And like I said, boredom doesn't set well with me. And so this need to give back, but also push myself creatively into something and do something that I hadn't necessarily seen before, and willing to work and try and make it work. And so when I have the success of getting new clients or finishing up a job, it feels really good, and it motivates me to like, I guess I'll keep this job. I'll stick with it for a while.